Welcome to today's Explainer. If you've ever felt like you're working harder than ever, yet somehow you're just falling further and further behind, or if you've ever felt this sudden, inexplicable urge to buy something you didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago, listen, you are not alone. You are participating in a system deliberately designed to weaponize your psychology against you. So today, we're going to deconstruct that exact system. We're going to see how it works and, more importantly, show you how to escape it.
Section 1. The dopamine debt trap, or as I like to call it, the invisible hijack. Brain imaging studies have actually revealed a pretty dark truth about how we're wired. When you're just looking at pictures of desirable items or, flashy sales online, a part of your brain called the striatum completely lights up. The psychologist Patrick Trotsky put it perfectly. The dopaminergic reward system is on fire. And we're talking about dopamine here, literally the exact same neurotransmitter responsible for drug and alcohol addiction. The truly insidious part? The dopamine isn't even about the pleasure of actually owning the thing. It's all about the anticipation of getting it. Your brain is giving you a powerful chemical high just for wanting something, and that high temporarily shuts down the logical control centers in your prefrontal cortex.
And it gets worse, because once you actually make that first purchase, you trigger something called the Diderot effect. So, back in the 18th century, there was this philosopher named Denis Diderot. He lived in poverty, until one day he acquired this beautiful, elegant scarlet robe. But suddenly, he had a problem. The robe was so magnificent that all of his other possessions just looked shabby by comparison. So what did he do? He bought a new rug from Damascus, then some expensive sculptures, then a new leather chair. It was like falling dominoes. One single purchase demanded the next. And honestly, we do the exact same thing today. You buy a new couch, and suddenly your rug, your coffee table, and your curtains all desperately need an upgrade. It's a relentless, ascending spiral of consumption.
This psychological hijacking is so strong it completely compromises our rationality, even when we're actively trying to fix our finances. If you look at research into mental accounting, it shows that when we try to pay off our credit cards, we behave entirely irrationally. Instead of paying down the card with the highest compound interest rate, which, let's be real, is mathematically the only correct move, we will very often pay off a smaller, less expensive debt entirely. Why on earth do we do that? Because closing a mental account gives us a massive dopamine hit. We're literally sacrificing our actual mathematical net worth just to feel the psychological illusion of accomplishment.
Section 2. Weaponized digital commerce, the architects of addiction.
You have to understand that modern e-commerce interfaces, they aren't just digital storefronts. They are psychological battlegrounds. And the manipulation tactics are incredibly precise. Think about infinite scrolling. It keeps you continuously engaged by completely removing natural stopping cues. Then you have one-click buying, which eliminates the friction and steals those crucial few seconds you'd normally use to rethink a purchase. In urgency messaging, only 2 left in stock or sale ends in 10 minutes, that triggers an artificial survival panic, ruthlessly exploiting our natural cognitive bias of loss aversion. Top it off with AI recommendation engines that curate a hyper-personalized reality, and the system totally bypasses your rational evaluation.
These platforms rely on a very specific, deeply engineered behavioral loop. It almost always kicks off with a negative emotional state. Boredom, stress, anxiety, maybe loneliness. You open an app just to self-soothe, but immediately you're hit with step 2, social proof. You see influencers or even just your peers living these highly curated, aspirational lives, which artificially inflates the perceived value of whatever product they're pushing. You feel this sudden, intense need to belong, to elevate your status. And then boom, step 3. The frictionless checkout gives you instant gratification. It is a completely seamless pipeline running directly from your anxiety straight to your wallet.
And just to make absolutely sure that nothing stops you, we now have the ultimate illusion. Buy now, pay later. Modern society pushes this everywhere, to systematically detach the thrill of getting the thing from the pain of actually paying for it. Every transaction just feels like pixels on a screen. You're no longer limited by the money you've actually earned. Instead, you're spending the money you merely hope to earn in the future, effectively burying your long-term freedom under a mountain of immediate digital gratification.
Part 3. The illusion of wealth. Ego versus net worth. I want you to consider this incredible, high-contrast story from the book The Psychology of Money. On one side, we have Ronald Reed. He was a rural gas station attendant and a janitor at JCPenney. Lived in a modest house, chopped his own firewood, zero formal financial education. Then, on the exact opposite side, we have Richard Fusone, a Harvard-educated executive at Merrill Lynch. He was listed in 40 Under 40, living in this massive 18,000-square-foot Greenwich mansion with 11 bathrooms and 2 elevators. The contrast literally could not be starker.
Well, in 2014, Ronald Reed passed away, and the world was absolutely shocked to discover his net worth, $8 million. The humble janitor had quietly amassed a fortune, simply by saving what little he could, buying blue-chip stocks and waiting patiently for decades. And Richard Fusone, the Harvard executive, he had borrowed heavily to expand that massive mansion, got completely crushed by the 2008 financial crisis, and had to declare bankruptcy, actually telling a judge he had zero income. His mansion was sold in foreclosure. It's wild, but in finance, unlike medicine or engineering, your behavior and your patience will entirely eclipse your formal education and intellect.
The harsh reality of modern capitalism is this. We naturally judge people's wealth by what we can see. The luxury cars, the huge houses, the lavish Instagram vacations. But true wealth is actually what you do not see. Wealth is the luxury car you decided not to purchase. It's the first-class upgrade you declined. It is the financial assets sitting quietly, invisibly in a portfolio, just waiting to be converted into options and total freedom later on down the road.
So why is it so incredibly hard for us to just keep our wealth hidden? Well, John Stuart Mill actually gave us the answer to this generations ago. He said, "Men do not desire to be rich, only to be richer than other men." Modern spending really isn't about utility anymore. It's almost entirely an exercise in inflating the ego. It is conspicuous consumption, driven by this deep-seated, evolutionary desire to prove to the tribe that we have a surplus, mostly just to impress people we don't even know.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. Savings really isn't about how much you earn. Savings is simply the gap between your ego and your income. Seriously, one of the single most powerful ways to increase your wealth is not to go ask for a raise. It's to raise your humility. If you can truly stop caring about what other people think of you, your savings rate is going to explode.
Section 4. The employee mindset. The invisible chains.
There is a fundamental divide in financial behavior that keeps the system running. The poor and the middle class, they tend to buy luxuries first. They buy the big house or the nice car on credit, desperately trying to look rich. But they end up paying for it with their own sweat, blood, and future labor. The old money wealthy? They do the exact opposite. They build their asset column first. They buy investments. And then, and only then, they let the income generated by those assets pay for their luxuries. As Robert Kiyosaki famously stated, the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Think of it this way. Every single time you put $1 into your asset column, it becomes your employee. It works 24 hours a day, it doesn't need sleep, it never asks for a vacation, and it can work for generations. The ultimate goal of the wealthy is simply to convert highly taxed earned income into lower taxed passive or portfolio income as rapidly as humanly possible. But the problem is, our formal education system only trains us for the left side of what Kiyosaki calls the Cashflow quadrant. This quadrant divides the business world into employees, the self-employed, business owners, and investors. We are culturally conditioned and taught to be E's and S's. We're taught to seek out job security, to cross our fingers and ask for promotions, to trade our finite time for a paycheck. But true wealth, true absolute freedom only lives over on the right side of the quadrant, where businesses and investments generate cash flow entirely independently of your daily labor.
Part 5. Escaping the system and reclaiming your freedom.
Escaping all of this begins with a profound psychological shift. You literally have to stop seeing money as just paper in your wallet or digits on a banking app screen. Money is life energy. Depending on your hourly wage, buying a new $30,000 car doesn't just cost 30 grand. It might cost an entire year of your life. It costs irreversible hours of your time on this earth that you can never, ever get back. Once it clicks for you that money equals life energy, I promise, the urge to blow it on some fleeting engineered dopamine hit starts to vanish pretty quickly. Which brings us to what financial independence actually means. It's not about hitting some arbitrary multi-million-dollar number just so you can go sit on a beach somewhere. It is a process of psychological liberation. It means freeing your mind from the fog, the fear, and the fanaticism of money. It is the deep realization that more is just a mirage, and that buying stuff will never, ever permanently fix a negative emotional state. To actually escape this matrix we've been talking about, you need to set up some strict, practical boundaries in your life. First, reduce your exposure to habit triggers. Unsubscribe from all those promotional emails, delete the shopping apps right off your phone, block the sites, stop the queue before the craving even has a chance to begin. Second, stop the humble brags and the endless self-comparison on social media. Just stop trying to impress people. And third, mind your own business. It's fine to keep your day job and be a great employee, but outside of those hours, you need to obsessively build your own asset column. I want to leave you with one single silent question to carry with you. The very next time you feel that sudden urge to click Buy Now, I want you to ask yourself this. Are you trading your irreplaceable life energy just to inflate your ego and impress people you don't even like? Look, the system is perfectly designed to keep you distracted, indebted, and working forever. But the choice to step out of the trap, well, that is entirely yours.